The return of Sanguinius, the angelic prime arch of the Blood Angels, would send shockwaves throughout the galaxy. His death during the Siege of Terra was a tragedy of immense magnitude, a sacrifice that ensured the Emperor could confront Horus and save humanity from annihilation. To see him alive again would be an event of unparalleled significance, altering the very fabric of the Imperium and the eternal war against chaos. The presence of Sanguinius would immediately inspire hope across the Imperium. His legacy as a hero, martyr, and symbol of perfection resonates with countless generations of Imperial citizens and warriors. His return would not only reignite the faith of humanity but also solidify the cohesion of a fractured empire. In a galaxy plagued by the Great Rift, rampant heresy, and the machinations of Xeno's races, Sanguinius would represent an ideal of unity and strength that could rally countless worlds and forces to the Imperium's banner. For the Blood Angels and their successors, his return would be an almost divine occurrence. These warriors, driven by the noble ideals of their gene-sire but haunted by the flaws in their bloodline, have suffered under the curse of the Black Rage and the Red Thirst. The visions of Sanguinius' final moments, imprinted in their psyches, have shaped their lives and battles for 10 millennia. His return would be more than a leader returning to guide them. It would be a chance at redemption, a potential cure for the curse that has defined their existence. The psychic bond between the Blood Angels and their Primarch would strengthen exponentially, potentially healing or mitigating the spiritual wounds that fester within their chapter. Across the wider galaxy, the return of Sanguinius would mark a seismic shift in the balance of power. Chaos, which once gloated over its victory in slaying the most beloved of the Emperor's sons, would face a dire reckoning. Sanguinius' survival or resurrection would be seen as a failure of their greatest champion, Horus, and as a refutation of their triumph. The Chaos Gods, particularly Khorne, who admires martial prowess and bloodshed, would be enraged to see a symbol of the Emperor's light restored. The demonic legions and their mortal followers would rally to extinguish this rekindled flame of hope before it could grow beyond their control. Sanguinius' return would not merely embolden humanity, it would also terrify the Xenos races. The Eldari, who harbor grudging respect for the Blood Angels due to their artistry and passion, would see his return as a disruption to their intricate plans. The Necrons, driven by their cold logic, might view Sanguinius as a wild card too dangerous to ignore. The Tyranids, ever adaptive and unrelenting, would likely find their efforts redoubled against a humanity suddenly capable of renewed resistance. Even the Orcs, reveling in war, might recognize in Sanguinius a foe whose destruction could immortalize their legends. Within the Imperium, Sanguinius would inevitably become a figure of authority and reverence. His return could rival, if not eclipse, the influence of Robot Guilliman, the only other Primarch currently active in the galaxy. Unlike Guilliman, who has struggled against the deeply ingrained stagnation and dogma of the Imperium, Sanguinius would likely be welcomed as a messianic figure. The Ecclesiarchy, long accustomed to venerating him as a saint, would have to reconcile their dogma with the reality of his living presence. This could create conflict within the Imperium's power structure, as various factions vie for his favor or seek to exploit his influence for their own agendas. The political and military implications of Sanguinius' return would be immense. His strategic genius, combined with his innate charisma and martial prowess, would make him a formidable leader in the Imperium's eternal war. Unlike Guilliman, who operates with a pragmatic focus on logistics and governance, Sanguinius would embody the ideals of inspiration and direct action. His presence on the battlefield would galvanize Imperial forces, his angelic visage and radiant aura capable of turning the tide of even the most hopeless engagements. However, Sanguinius' return would not be without its complications. The nature of his resurrection would be a matter of intense scrutiny and speculation. If he were returned through some intervention by the Emperor, it would reinforce the idea of the Emperor's divinity, a concept that Guilliman has struggled to temper. On the other hand, if his return were achieved through more mysterious or unconventional means, questions about his purity or potential manipulation could arise. The shadow of chaos, ever lurking, might cast doubt on his loyalty, even among those who desperately want to believe in his return. For the Blood Angels, the implications of their Primarch's return would be deeply personal and transformative. While it would bring hope and possibly alleviate their curse, it could also challenge their identity as warriors shaped by 10,000 years of struggle and adaptation. The chapter has evolved into something distinct, with traditions and heroes forged in Sanguinius' absence. His return might be seen as both a blessing and a disruption, forcing the Blood Angels to redefine their role in the galaxy and their relationship with their gene-sire. The emotional weight of Sanguinius' return would be profound. Known for his compassion and empathy, he would undoubtedly be burdened by the state of the galaxy and the suffering of humanity. The weight of 10 millennia of failure, stagnation, and degradation would rest heavily on his shoulders. Yet, his resilience and unwavering belief in the Emperor's vision would drive him to act, to fight for a brighter future even in the face of overwhelming darkness. On a larger scale, Sanguinius' return could serve as a catalyst for broader change within the Imperium. His presence might inspire other lost Primarchs to re-emerge, or it could herald a new phase in the Emperor's own mysterious plans. The sheer impact of his return would ripple through the Imperium, affecting psychers, demons, and even the Emperor himself. It might signify a turning point in the long war, a chance for the Imperium to rise above its endless cycle of survival and stagnation. Yet, the galaxy is never simple. Sanguinius' return would also draw the attention of powerful enemies, both known and unknown. His existence would be a beacon of light, but light in the darkness often attracts shadows. Assassins, cultists, and heretics would see his destruction as a way to cripple the Imperium's spirit. The Chaos Gods would send their most potent champions to eliminate him, knowing the threat he represents to their plans. In the end, the return of Sanguinius would be a moment of hope, challenge, and transformation. His angelic presence would inspire humanity, terrify its enemies, and force the Imperium to confront its deepest flaws and contradictions. Yet, his return would not guarantee victory. It would merely offer a chance, a fleeting opportunity to change the course of history. In the grim darkness of the far future, where hope is a rarity and sacrifice a constant, the return of Sanguinius might be the spark that reignites the fire of the Imperium's destiny. The return of Sanguinius would also ignite a spiritual awakening among the faithful across the Imperium. For millennia, the Blood Angels have been a living testament to the Emperor's vision of nobility and sacrifice, and their genesire's martyrdom has been enshrined as a cornerstone of imperial faith. The Ecclesiarchy would likely interpret his return as a sign of the Emperor's divine favor, perhaps even the herald of a prophesied salvation or a new era of crusades. Pilgrims would flock to any world he graced, seeking to witness the living angel. His presence would revitalize the dwindling faith of many, serving as a potent counter to the despair sown by the horrors of the Great Rift and the encroaching darkness of chaos. Yet, this spiritual fervor could also spark conflict within the Imperium. The cult of the Emperor thrives on rigid orthodoxy, and Sanguinius' return could challenge its monopoly on interpreting the Emperor's will. If Sanguinius opposed the excesses of the Ecclesiarchy or questioned its dogma, it might lead to schisms within the Church and among its adherents. For some, his return could serve as an opportunity to reinterpret the imperial creed, emphasizing the ideals of unity and compassion that Sanguinius embodied. For others, his reappearance might be seen as a threat to their power, leading to conspiracies or even outright rebellion against the Primarch. The relationship between Sanguinius and Guilliman would be another critical factor. Guilliman, as the de facto leader of the Imperium in the Emperor's absence, has been struggling against overwhelming odds to restore order and stability. The return of Sanguinius would likely be welcomed by Guilliman, as the angelic Primarch would bolster his efforts and bring fresh hope to the war-torn Imperium. However, there could also be tensions between them. Guilliman's pragmatic and utilitarian approach to governance might clash with Sanguinius' idealism and emotional resonance. While both are loyal to the Emperor and share the same ultimate goal, their methods and philosophies could lead to disagreements or even strategic divergence. This dynamic would also extend to the Blood Angels and the Ultramarines. Both chapters have their own distinct cultures and approaches to warfare, and while they share mutual respect, the return of their respective Primarchs might create subtle rivalries or ideological divides. Sanguinius, with his radiant charisma, might unintentionally overshadow Guilliman in the eyes of many within the Imperium, creating a sense of competition or undermining Guilliman's authority. Sanguinius' impact on the Warp and the Imperium would also be profound. His psychic presence, radiant and pure, would act as a bulwark against the corrupting influence of chaos. Like the Emperor himself, Sanguinius could serve as a psychic lighthouse, guiding humanity through the turbulent storms of the Warp. His return might weaken the Great Rift or stabilize the Warp routes critical to Imperial supply lines. However, this would also make him a target for the Chaos Gods and their minions. They would unleash their full fury to destroy him, fearing the destabilizing effect his presence could have on their domain. The psychic resonance of Sanguinius' return could also affect the Astronomicon and the Emperor himself. Some might speculate that the Emperor, whose spirit resides on the Golden Throne, would draw strength from the presence of his beloved son. Sanguinius, who shared a unique bond with the Emperor, might even serve as a conduit for the Emperor's will, acting as a more direct and active representative of his vision. This could empower the Imperium in ways not seen since the Great Crusade, reigniting humanity's drive to expand, explore, and conquer. However, the personal toll on Sanguinius would be immense. He would return to a galaxy far darker and more fractured than the one he sacrificed himself to save. The Imperium, once a beacon of human potential, has become a brutal and oppressive regime, its ideals buried under layers of fear, superstition, and decay. Sanguinius, known for his empathy and compassion, would be deeply affected by the suffering of humanity and the corruption of the Imperium's institutions. While he would fight to restore hope and light, he might also grapple with despair and guilt, questioning whether his sacrifice truly made a difference. The weight of leadership would also test Sanguinius. His innate charisma and moral authority would naturally place him in a position of prominence, but leading an Imperium in such dire straits would require difficult decisions and compromises. He would have to balance his ideals with the harsh realities of a galaxy at war, making choices that might strain his conscience or alienate his allies. The burden of command, combined with the ever-present threat of chaos, would push Sanguinius to his limits, both physically and emotionally. For the enemies of the Imperium, Sanguinius' return would be both a threat and an opportunity. The Chaos Gods would view him as an existential challenge to their dominance, but they would also see his purity as a prize worth corrupting. Sanguinius, who resisted Horus' temptation and died a hero, would represent an unparalleled triumph if turned to chaos. They would unleash their most devious schemes and most powerful champions to break his spirit, seeking to tarnish his legacy and weaponize his fall against the Imperium. The Xenos races would also react strategically to Sanguinius' return. The Eldari, particularly their seers, might view him as a pivotal figure in the balance of fate. Some might seek an alliance with him, recognizing his potential to thwart chaos, while others might view him as a threat to their own survival. The Tyranids, drawn to psychic energy like moths to a flame, would likely increase their focus on worlds where Sanguinius operates, leading to catastrophic battles. The Necrons, ever calculating, might see him as a destabilizing factor in the galaxy's balance of power, prompting them to act in ways both subtle and overt. Sanguinius' return would also create opportunities for storytelling and exploration within the Warhammer 40,000 universe. His character, with its blend of nobility, tragedy, and charisma, offers rich potential for narrative depth and emotional resonance. Stories could explore his interactions with Guilliman, the Blood Angels, and other factions within the Imperium, as well as his personal struggles and triumphs. Thematically, his return would emphasize the enduring power of hope and sacrifice, even in the face of overwhelming darkness. In the end, the return of Sanguinius would be a transformative event for the galaxy, offering both immense potential and profound challenges. It would not signal an end to the Imperium's struggles, but rather a new chapter in its eternal war. Sanguinius, the angelic Primarch, would stand as a symbol of humanity's resilience and its capacity for redemption, inspiring countless warriors and citizens to fight for a brighter future. Yet, his presence would also draw the ire of the Imperium's enemies, ensuring that the path forward would be fraught with peril and conflict. The galaxy would burn brighter for his return, its flames fueled by both hope and hatred. In the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, the angel's light might be the spark that reignites humanity's faith in itself, or the beacon that leads to its final glorious stand.